2016 USD 497 Board of Education meeting. First thing we need to do is adopt an agenda.
Wait for the agenda.
Thanks, Shannon. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Vanessa. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. First order of business is some special recognition. First up is the NEA Foundation Teaching Excellence Award winner and Kansas Teacher of the Year finalist, Lucinda Crenshaw, with Lori Folsom, President, LEA.
I can sing and dance for a little bit.
The projector's cooling off now instead of powering on. So. I'll let you know when they're. Okay, I want to get out of your way.
No, you're trapped. You have to stay.
This will be really short then. Now we're good?
So do you want me to explain what I understand of it?
Well, which do you want me to do first? Do you want to do the NEA thing first or the K-12?
I can
Okay.
use both.
I can go with either.
And you
We're
can
just-
correct me if I'm wrong.
I just have a little thing here about K-12.
Oh, well,
Good sound.
I've been talking long enough, so.
Yeah. Did
Okay.
you want to hear that plan? too?
Yeah, we're planning out here. I'm sorry. I'm Lori Folsom, the president of Lawrence Education Association, and over the summer we found out that Lucinda not only was recognized last year as a Teacher of the Year for Region 4 in Kansas, but our KNEA organization at the state level and her peers nominated her for a National Education Association Award for Teaching Excellence. And so in winning this, she earned $650 for her building that they will be presenting to her tomorrow. No, Wednesday. The week is not progressing as fast as I had hoped. And so the next level of this, she could potentially win a much larger amount of money. And so we all want to stay friends with her. And so I'm going to turn it over to her because she has a presentation about her travels as that Kansas Teacher of the Year finalist this last year.
Okay. All right. So this is part of the reason that what we would do when we would go out and visit some. So I'm going to give you just a sneak peek here, if it will play. I don't know if its sound is coming through.
Standing in a crowded room and I can't see your face. Put your arms around me, tell me everything's okay. In my mind I'm running around a cold and empty space. Just put your arms around me, tell me everything's okay. Break my bones, but you won't see me fall. Oh, the rising tide will rise against them all. Oh, darling, hold my hand. Oh, won't you hold my hand? 'Cause I don't wanna walk on my own anymore. Won't you understand? 'Cause I don't wanna walk alone. I'm ready for this. There's no denying. I'm ready for this. You
So this is what we would play at
I'm ready for this. I need you holding. I'm ready for this. So darling, hold my hand. Soul is like a melting pot when you're not next to me.
all are trying to be creative and to be able to
Tell me that you got
get
me
this.
and you're never gonna leave.
So I shouldn't walk around? Okay. That's going to be hard. Okay. So I'm going to keep us moving here. And these are the people that I spent the year with. And I'm not going to go through all the introductions, but know that we covered kindergarten through high school, and that this is what 2016 covered the whole state, which doesn't always happen. In fact, they had their they announced the finalists yesterday and the day before, and I think the farthest they go is Salina area. So they will not be able, well, they could, but not be out in western Kansas as much. So we gave presentations, and our theme was to make magic tools of teaching. And the emphasis is really on relationships. If you don't have a good relationship, it doesn't matter what curriculum you're teaching, what cool thing you're doing. If they don't believe that you believe in them or care about them, they're not going to learn. Oops. So we went through different colleges really quick. That was really quick there. So we went to 24 of them. We still have K-State to do next month. We talked to over 1,100 students and professors. We presented at the Capitol in Topeka at the Joint Committee for Education. We were recognized on the House and the Senate floors. And we, at another time, spoke to the Kansas School Board Association. We worked with KNEA. Also, we had people come in and share with us from across the state, superintendents, principals, and other organizations who have an investment in education across the state, so that we could better learn about not only our perspective, but others too. And one of the best parts about this is that you get to go to each of the finalist schools and their district. And we hosted here in March for the others to come. And Sarah Bonner, who was our other K-Toy elementary person from our district, she had a group of people come also. And so they got to see some of our highlights, talk to some of our key people, be able to see not only our buildings, but a few others in the area, and try to show them. It's a kind of show and tell for every district. And what's really great is that every district is doing really cool things, and that there's a lot of programs out there that might be similar, but there are some really unique ones, sometimes based on where they are. I don't think we have as high a number of people in ag culture classes, but there are those that really do, and it's an important part of our overall state. We also know that social media is the place, as well as our students know. If you want to get information, if you want information out there, you got to be in that social media. And so we attempted to do that, and we continue to do that. Our biggest thing was presenting, especially to those pre-service teachers, that you're not by yourself. Not only do you have connections in your building, but you have connections across the state and across the world of tons of people out there sharing their ideas. So, and then start sharing yourself. I'm not going to read through all of these. These are just some of the ideas that touched my heart for some of the things that, wouldn't that be cool if we could do something like that, either in my building or somewhere in the district. And so there's some visuals, because I'm such a visual person. So those are some of the ideas that stuck out to me. Science in 7th grade is starting their national standards for science this year, and one of the things we're doing is ecosystems. So long term, after we've tried this a couple of years, I'd like to pull in some other types of situations too, so that we could maybe learn from various different types of garden setting. Out there, as I said, there's a lot of good things going on that are similar to what we do already in our district, and those were some of the things that came up. We had wonderful conversations among the 8 of us that traveled together, pushing each other to think more, sharing ideas, questioning, learning about things. When they came to visit in March, these are some of the things that they were talking about in the van, as we had wonderful people driving them around from place to place from ESDC. And when they were here in the building, they got to experience a mini PD, how we do things. And so these are some of the things that they were talking about and asking me more questions about. So It's really hard to summarize how this has affected me personally. But what's really cool is I hope that I can continue to share that with not only my building, but I'd be glad to share with you or any of the administration some of the ideas that I've gained, and some of the things that were really hard to do. I was out of the classroom almost 40 days last semester, which was really hard, but I had a great group of parents and students who supported that and knew that was part of the deal, and subs that came in that were really good, and administration that helped find the funds to help do this for us. And so those are really important things, and I hope that it can continue to happen here. Probably, like Lori said, the next big thing is I have this opportunity to be a part of a fellowship at the national level, and it's a year-long staff development, and next June I will go to China with them for 9 days, and we'll look at the education systems there and cultural things to be able to come back. So I don't know what else is out there, but this has really been a great opportunity. It's also very humbling because there are so many excellent teachers in this district and across the state. So I really appreciate your support. I appreciate our superintendents, because it was both Dr. Dole and Kyle Hayden that are supporting this. ESDC is Angelique, and you have two wonderful inner office people, Becky May and Kathy Nichols, that had to help me over and over and over again about which form to fill out and what to return and all those kind of things too. My building, my principals, and my team, my 7th grade team, they really helped along the way. And probably the people that are still adjusting to this is my family, because I had to be gone a lot too. And my son is now a 7th grader too, and last year that probably was the hardest thing for him because, as many of you may know, middle school is not very easy, and trying to learn how to keep all that together. But I appreciate your support and everyone else's. So thank you. You're supposed to do that. Yeah, you want to go around the front? Jump in. There you go. Okay. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucinda, for sharing that with us and for all of your great work and your family sacrifice. Now moving on, next is the Lawrence Schools Foundation Support of Learning Forward Future Ready with Jerry Kimball, Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Technology.
Good evening. As you know, access to the internet is no longer a luxury. We've had the internet in schools now for 2 decades, and more is online. But I think we don't think about the other piece when kids are connected, and that's the family and how they become connected to the school. It really engages them on what's going on in the schools, allows families to see grades. It also allows families to access health benefits, maybe even a job or other things. So when we put internet in the home, we're not only affecting that one student, we are affecting an entire family. Last spring, we did a survey of our students in middle school and high school to see how many of them had internet at home. And from our survey results, and they're not perfect, but we felt that we had about 400 families that needed the internet. And that was right in line with the survey statistics nationwide. So between last year and this year, we have purchased 120 Khajiits, and we have 400 students that need one. So at the end of August, I went to the Lawrence Foundation, told them about our rollout, all of the work that our board has done to provide students with devices,
And now the other part of that digital equity is the need for access. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dina Johnston and let you hear the good news from her.
I feel like we're the fun patrol. Yeah. Well, we appreciate Jerry sharing that information with us. We asked Jerry to come to one of our board meetings just to share with our board some of the impact from the surveys and the information that we received. And we're very supportive and excited about the initiative, but we also know that along with that comes a lot of challenges for our students and our families, as she mentioned. So we felt as a board that that's something that we certainly could get behind and help support this year. So on behalf of, and I brought Gail Vick with us, our board president, but on behalf of the Lawrence Schools Foundation, we would like to provide Jerry and the district with a check for $39,000 to help support the Hotspot initiative for this year. So.
Oh, sure. Trade me places.
The shortest one, but I always
This goes uphill. Trade me places.
Oh, it does go up. I even have heels on today, too.
Okay. Well, actually, so as you're doing that, a real smaller.
Before you shake hands, I wanted to say that our need is 400. We're at 320 now. This purchased 200. And so we are still focusing on some more. So I am excited. We are getting there. I never thought this could happen this fast. But thank goodness for this community and the foundation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to the Lawrence Schools Foundation for that generous funding source for a dire need that we have, and just for your support of our schools in general. Okay, moving on, we have the consent. Oh, no. Do we have any audience members, Julie? No. Okay. So next we have a consent agenda. Consent agenda items are those that are considered routine and are adopted by one motion unless any board member or the superintendent requests that an item be removed. The item or items removed are voted on separately. And Shannon, I see you have some retirements.
Two retirements to recognize this evening. The administration would like to recognize Cheryl Packard for her 25 years of service and devotion to this community and its schools. And we would like to recognize Sandra Wilson for her 5 years of service and devotion to our community and our schools. Thank you both, and congratulations.
And with that, I'll move that the Board of Education adopt the items listed on the consent agenda.
Thanks, Vanessa. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Jessica.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Okay, next item is the report of President of the Board. I don't have a report tonight, so I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
So I want to start by thanking the board and also the district administrative team for the board goal-setting process and the time and commitment that went into that, because that's not easy, and there's a lot of good dialogue. There's a lot of good things that are on the table for us to work on. And it's beyond just the work session, that the time commitment and getting that document the way it needs to be. So I appreciate the time and effort that went in that and the thoughtfulness. In addition to honoring Lucinda Crenshaw for her state and national recognition tonight, we celebrated 2 of our outstanding educators yesterday afternoon at the Kansas Teacher of the Year Region 2 banquet in Topeka. Congratulations again to Lawrence Teachers of the Year, Deborah Williams at Sunset Hill and Kristen Mallory, Southwest Middle School. Our elementary marathon clubs will kick off their running season with a Pack the Field event starting at 5 o'clock tomorrow. The marathon clubs have been something that have been really popular and have taken off significantly the last few years. So that's at Southwest Middle School, 5 o'clock tomorrow. Students ages 5 through 12 and their families are invited to participate and prepare to be active there. We invite the public's attendance on Friday morning at 7:30 a.m., bright and early, for the annual Lawrence Schools Foundation Community Education Breakfast at the former Holodome now the double tree at Hilton. I just learned that like a week or two ago. I'm looking forward to hearing from one of our many successful alumni, honoring 4 of our outstanding seniors. The breakfast is one of the foundation's major fundraising events, so we appreciate the community's support. That's all I have.
What time is the thing on Thursday? Sorry.
Thing on
Oh, never mind, that's Friday.
Friday's the breakfast starts at 7:30. Actual presentation, food at 7:30. Actually, the thing starts about 8, a little before 8. But
Thanks, Kyle. Board commentary?
I have 2 items I'd like to share. Wanted to just give a couple of brief updates on some activities that I've been involved in since our last meeting. On August 27th, I attended my first KASB Board of Directors meeting as the Region 1 Vice President. It was a typical board meeting for the organization, talked about things like staff goals, audit, capital improvement plans for their headquarters building. A couple of interesting things that I wanted to share. They did have a rough outline from the Legislative Agenda Committee that they presented to the board, went through some of the changes that they're looking to make, and they're really doing a major overhaul of their legislative agenda this year, reorganizing it, removing things that are no longer relevant, trying to focus their legislative agenda on a series of major goal statements. And so just visually, the layout for what their goals are and what the agenda is it's gonna make a lot more sense and be a lot more easily communicated to legislators and others. So that I thought that was a very positive outcome to the work that group has been doing. Wanted to share with all of you, if you hadn't already seen it, that that same week, Governor Brownback made his announcement that he's seeking input from stakeholders on what the next school finance plan should look like. There's a email address that you can send your input to. If you send something to it, I would recommend that you send it to that email address and maybe to our district staff or to KASB. I think they're trying to keep a running track of people who submit comments so that they see how the information is used in the output. But that email address is students first, spelled out, students first at ks.gov. So if you want to provide individual input, I think, Kyle, you had mentioned in a Friday report that the district would be providing input to that process. In addition, there's the other group of school administrators that met and announced their own starting point for discussion of a school finance plan that had this somewhat controversial notion that you would do away with the local option budget almost altogether. It's my understanding from the KSB board meeting that there will be opportunity for input from districts into that plan, but I haven't heard anything more about how that input is going to be sought and gathered. The other item I wanted to share is that last Wednesday, myself along with David Cunningham attended a KASB training on transgender issues in schools. It was a really good conversation. It covered issues surrounding transgender students and staff, application of Title IX to transgender students and bullying, counseling and accommodating transgender students in schools, and then there was a session on recent case law that impacts transgender students and employees. The big takeaways from that, the biggest takeaway really is that the law and policy is in such an evolving state right now that it's really hard to say what actions you can take as a district that are going to be in the right place, depending on how the court cases come out, depending on how the Office of Civil Rights continues to interpret their policy statements. I do think that the thing that we all have to be thinking about is how those continuing discussions will impact some of our goals, particularly with our facilities plans. We've talked about that a lot already, but I think that we'll have to have a good deal more discussion about that. I have the materials from that. If anybody would like me to share that, let me know after the meeting, and I'll arrange to get you a copy that you can take a look at as well. So, thanks.
Thanks for doing, oh, sorry, I have something else too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we've been working with KSB lately. I wanted to talk about how this last Saturday, I actually went to Topeka. I was asked to be part of their nominating committee for their president-elect. So they have like a 3-year presidential cycle where you move through in a leadership role at KSB. And the task of the nominating committee, there's people that serve from each region. Shannon did it last year for Region 1. We basically interview candidates. There was one this year, so we interviewed one person, and then the committee makes a recommendation about whether or not to recommend that person to the general membership meeting that's usually in December. But the one candidate we had was really fantastic. I actually know him from previous work on the board, but he's a board member from Topeka Public Schools, a 501. His name is Patrick Woods, and he's been serving on their board for 9 years. He previously worked in Kathleen Sebelius' administration on education policy, so he's very well connected, very politically savvy, very engaged and interested, wants to see KSB become a real leader in the state in terms of providing policy guidance to the legislature, and has some ideas for how to do that. So I'm very excited about his candidacy, and I'm certain he'll win because I doubt there'll be anyone else that nominates from the floor. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know. I think that's really great news for the organization. And then also, I have been serving, I've been trying to attend the meetings for the local voter education coalition here in town. That's a group I'm sure you're familiar with because you're all elected and you worked with them when doing forums and things to run for your position. But they're currently working on the November election, helping to determine the questions for the forums that will be done for the State Board of Ed candidates, the legislative candidates, and then the Douglas County Commission candidates. And so there's a meeting on Thursday, September 15th. It's at 8:30, and I'm not able to make it because I have another board meeting for a different organization that I have to attend then. But I wanted to see if anyone is potentially available because they are crafting questions for the legislature and for the State Board of Ed. It would probably be helpful for someone with our lens to be there to help craft those questions. And if someone else is available, just let me know and I'll make sure that you get forwarded the information. And I think you all got the agenda from Janice earlier. And if no one's able to go and you have some questions that you think need to be on the list, I could just send that ahead of time with our regrets that we aren't actually able to attend in person. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Vanessa. Shannon, I know I would be interested in taking a look at that information. Would any other board member be interested in that documentation that Shannon had? 'Cause
Is
maybe-
it different than the one that you sent me from the national?
It is. This is actually the slides from the various presentations and some scribbled notes that you may or may not be able to read in my handwriting that I took during the presentation. But if other board members are interested, there was also a really helpful piece that I got through the KSB board meeting from somebody who's serving on the National Association of School Boards, and it's a guide on transgender students in schools. And I had shared that with Vanessa and David because we're talking about this in policy, but if other board members are interested, I could forward that on.
Is it small enough that
It's-
Janice should
it's a-
scan it? Because you can.
It's a PDF. Actually,
Oh, it's PDF?
that's already
Okay.
electronically available, so that's just forwarded to you by email. I can do that.
Yeah, maybe forward it to Janice. Janice could forward it to all of us.
How about I just get you both of those things, and then any board member that wants them can get them. Okay.
Thanks. Okay, moving on to our first report. This is the Live Well Lawrence Tobacco 21 initiative. I'm going to provide a brief intro, but it will be in the agenda says Janelle Martin, but actually it's going to be Yvonne Chen with the Live Well Lawrence Tobacco Free Work Group. So Yvonne, are you here? There she are. If you want to make your way on up, I'll start introducing you. A couple weeks ago, Chris Tilden, the Community Health Director at the County Health Department, he approached me about obtaining some written support from the school board for the work being done by the Live Well Lawrence Tobacco Free Work Group efforts in Douglas County to raise the tobacco purchasing age to 21. And so I discussed this with Shannon and Kyle, and we had David Cunningham weigh in as well, and we felt that this was something in line with our district's values and ultimate goals, and as well as benefiting the community. So we thought it worth bringing to the rest of the board the possibility of passing a resolution in support of the initiative. And so Yvonne will give us kind of a brief overview of the what, the why, what it is, why it's important, and why we should support it. And then you'll have the opportunity to ask any questions, clarifications that you have. And then if there's general consensus, we'll just put together a resolution and have it as part of the consent agenda for next week. Okay?
Well, thank you, Marcel, for such a wonderful introduction. Good evening. My name is Yvonne Chen. I am chair of the Tobacco Living Well group under the Live Well Lawrence. This is my colleague, Erica Anderson, who is chair-elect of Tobacco Free Living. We're here today to present you with something that's so important to think about. Imagine when you drive by, you see underage children smoking. You might wonder, where did they get their cigarette? Who supplied that? And today I'm here to share with you, do you know 40% of those children got their cigarettes from those ages between 18 to 21? So clearly, the elders, or actually slightly older high school students, supply cigarettes to the younger students at school. So in the last 2 years, more and more states and cities in the U.S. are moving toward the Tobacco 21 initiative. The goal is to cut down the supply chain so that those who are under 18 won't be able to smoke cigarettes or any tobacco products. And we found success, for example, in a city in Massachusetts, where this particular city implemented Tobacco 21 initiative, and they found that the 90-day prevalence and frequency of use were lower when compared to another city that only limits tobacco cigarettes up to 18 years old. So we know that this is truly effective, is scientifically proved. And the most important thing is our Kansas City partners and allies are, going along with the momentum. More and more cities, for example, around the Kansas City state lines, they are voting for Tobacco 21. And Kansas City, for example, has already gone toward Tobacco 21. So we hope that you will join the movement. We have a lot more partners that have already joined our movement, including Health Department, Lawrence Memorial Hospital, Peasley Tech, McGrew, Just Food, Headquarter Counseling Centers, KU, Watkins, Therapy Work, Van Gogh, and we hope that the school districts will do something wonderful to protect the well-being of our children. Thank you.
Thank you,
Question?
Yeah.
Or-
Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
Not a concern, a question. Do you have a timeline already in place for when you anticipate approaching the city commission about this?
We felt that having school district support first would be really, really important, knowing that clearly we're targeting the school-age children. So that after that, we are already in the process of talking to the city manager as well as commissioners just to get more consensus going on. But without your support, it would be very difficult for us to continue to ride the momentum that has been spread around across the nation.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Yvonne.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Erica. So if there's general consensus, we'll put together a resolution. All in favor, yes, aye? Raise your hand, nod. Okay, all right. So it'll be part of the consent agenda, and you guys have a chance to review beforehand, okay? Great, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next report is an update on Learning Forward Future Ready Initiative, middle schools, with Jerry Kimball, Assistant Superintendent, Innovation and Technology.
So is our projector on again? It's on? Okay. Oh, well, while it's cooling down, you'll let us know when it's back on. I was going to just show you some of the documents. I can take a minute to show you that our Learning Forward Future Ready committees have prepared for us. There were 64 educators on the committee, and this is the work that they've created. So the committee did not create this. The tech department did. Just some troubleshooting ideas teachers can hang up in the classroom if they're having any issues with Wi-Fi. So things that we have found that have been difficult. This is the refrigerator poster. It's a little bit bigger. If you want more information, go to www.usd497.org/future ready. So you can look at some of the information there. And we have printed it in different languages as well. Let's see. Are we up yet, Julie? These are the areas that we are working on. And you'll see those posters around. These have been popular. The parent and student frequently ask questions and caring for your iPad. I don't know if you have middle schoolers, if you've seen all these things. I hope so. And this is our teacher handbook. And the teacher handbook is simply a resource. The principals have talked about all that information. Much of it is the apps that are on the iPad, because we know at the beginning of the year the teachers hear so much that we wanted to have a resource that they could fall back on. So, okay. Are we up? Is it number 2? No? Ah, yay. That's always a good feeling. All right. So I just wanted to review quickly. This is the roadmap to implementation, the devices, the infrastructure. We had the WITS report. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that later. The project management team, the professional development, and assessment. So we will address all of those this evening. Reviewing. We had the district leadership team. 27 people were on the strategic team, and that included the principals and district administration. Then we had 63 educators on the middle school Learning Forward Future Ready teams. They were divided out into those 10 categories. Each category had work to do, and most of that work is found in these publications that I'm showing you. After they created their work, they brought it back to the district strategic team. And then we gave it to the middle school Learning Forward team again. So the whole team saw everything. And then that work was disseminated at each middle school. And principals will talk to you about how that happened. So I'm going to turn it over to Kristen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Ryan. I'm the principal at Southwest Middle School. And I'll just kind of walk through here since the last Learning Forward Future Ready report. Just a little history of what's all taken place. But we did have 9 strategic team meetings. 63 educators participated in the LFFR meetings and online discussions via Basecamp and Slack. And basically what that means is we had different apps that we all communicated and would upload all of our documents because there were so many different people working on different components of this initiative to help us make sure the right hand knew what the left hand was doing as well. And so it was a great place for teachers and principals and district level all to house all of our information. There were 10 teacher teams that met independently to finalize specific plans. Like Jerry said, the handbook was created as a resource. There's some really nice teacher quotes in there about risk-taking that they shared. And they also helped develop the middle school parent meeting. All of the middle school teachers met. The 4 middle school principals led that on the August 12th PD. All of us met in the auditorium at Free State. We kind of set the tone for here's all the work that's been done over the summer. Here's the resources that you will be receiving and all the professional development that we all did, all 4 middle schools on Monday, the 15th of August. So there was PD on the 12th for all of the information, including digital citizenship. And then on Monday, each of the middle schools also provided professional development individually in their own buildings. We met continuously in individual building teams just to talk about the details, to really troubleshoot and to make sure we were being intentional with every decision made, getting a lot of teacher voice in, and all of the hard work definitely paid off. The Vanguard groups are starting, and actually Jeff experienced that today. The Vanguard is coming to Southwest tomorrow, which is training for our teachers from Apple. And we're really, really excited about that and learning about classroom management tips, how to access iTunes U, and just lots of different stuff. So, and then the last is training for continued app setup and Apple Classroom setup, still all that Vanguard. So that's a new word as well, but that has to do with the training from Apple. Yes. Yes. All right.
But the Vanguard group is teachers.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah. All right.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you.
So here's just a slide with a couple different schedules that we sent up at LMCMS. The smaller one, I guess, on the upper left-hand corner is today's schedule for the Vanguard training. Vanguard is an Apple term, so we're just calling it our LMCMS tech team. So those were the members that were a part of the larger district team that worked over the summer. So they're the ones that have contributed to the district level committees, and now they're working at our building level. Vanguard, one concept is to just train your team, but we have selected to have our whole staff involved in this training with the Apple educator. So in that schedule on team times, teachers came into a classroom, and our focus today was Apple Classroom, which is a classroom management system. So it is actually brand new to the Apple world, so it's good timing for us to roll this out. We had some open session time for question and answers, and then we are paired up with Southwest for our days of training. So there's a little schedule there that just talks about throughout the year how we will have Apple trainers for ourselves, and at times we will collaborate with Southwest. On the right-hand side is a schedule that's set up that will start next Monday. So after school training with Joe Smizer, and he is one of our district employees, Apple trainer. So the staff, first week of school, I listed out everything that Joe offers, and they basically put tally marks where their interests lie. So the first thing we're going to train on is Google Classroom, which was number 1. So that will be offered to classified as well as certified staff. They can sign up as they'd like. We'll get through those first 2 months, and then we'll have another Vanguard training November 2nd, and we'll reassess where our PD needs are at that time. You talked about the 12th.
Yeah. One more thing to add, that the heavy focus for all 4 of us, and I can speak specifically to Southwest, was our digital citizenship training, and talked about the importance of leaving that positive footprint. And in the past, that's really been a guidance counselor's kind of in, maybe once a month in terms of providing that information on being a positive digital citizen. And we really have been talking about the importance of that's everybody's job now, and how important it is, and that it's important that our students use this device in the most productive way, so that when it is their footprint, that it's showing what they can do and all their positive attributes. So that was something that I offered sessions all day on August 12th, and had multiple at the district-wide PD day, and we even had elementary and high school teachers attending that session, even though they weren't a part of the initiative, but they see the need, and we're very, very thankful for the opportunity, and I gave them access to the Blackboard course as well, so that they could use the resources that the middle school teachers had developed, so that was pretty neat.
These are two questions I put to our staff the second day that we came back. This is August 16th. So this was put to both our classified paraeducators and our teachers. The top question being, how familiar are you with the iPad for a teaching and learning device? So you can see the data there. As you probably know, we've had iPads in our buildings for over 3 years, not in every classroom, not in every teacher's hands. But I think staff is humble in those numbers because I think they're very skilled with the iPad. And my survey was limited to 40 to poll everywhere. I just want to make sure the science is shared fairly. I didn't have everyone take it, but it was 40 people that responded. The other question is, how far have you taken a lesson or been a part of a lesson that where did it hit on the SAMR schedule? So no one indicated redefinition, but my observation would be last year that did happen in several cases, especially with our museum night projects. But I'm gonna use these two questions and come back to staff again throughout the year and see where the changes are. Parent night was very successful for all 4 middle schools. We principals stuck together. Everyone was nervous with the rollout, so we communicated a lot over the summer and the first week of school as we had our parent nights. It looked a little different at each school. So at LMCMS, our parent night was part of our enrollment night, so we did this on Monday the 15th before school started. We had 2 different presentations for parents. In fact, we also had a makeup session about a week and a half later, and we did have a couple dozen parents show up to that. They were thankful that we had our schedule open to that. But we had Mr. Hayden's message, which was well received and answered a lot of questions. We used a lot of the documents that Jerry has shared with you tonight. Was really something that our staff really dove into the first couple days of PD. It dominated what we did to start the school year, and I was just very impressed with how students, staff, and parents embraced this. The questions that came to me were few and at just a level of just wanting confirmed on anything from my kid does get to take this home to is there a charging cord with it. It was very basic. So input to me is that we did our job of letting everyone know what the initiative was about and had the comfort level there for them.
And I would just add, I think Kyle's message when it talked about what LFFR is not, that it isn't about increasing screen time. It's about, this is a resource, it's a tool, but it shouldn't be used all the time, every hour. We have a PE department who wants kids engaged, and so I think that really eased the parent and guardian's mind in the audience, and as they got into it, our high emphasis on digital citizenship, the ability to go back into the pods and see the device and get on it, and there was excitement.
Hey, Jerry, before you move on, I just had a question about the professional development schedule that you had for Liberty Memorial Central and Southwest. Is that typical of what the other 2 middle schools are doing as well?
It is,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
They're sticking together.
There's equity in that.
Yes,
we
they
checked.
work very well
I wasn't
together.
meaning to imply there wasn't, but just, I was just curious if
Right.
all 4 schools have, because that's a pretty aggressive PD schedule. having
Now,
somebody-
not all of them have Joe scheduled yet,
Okay,
but
That was something we did on our own.
okay.
once Jeff tells them about it,
You think that'll be something that
Yeah.
other schools are interested in?
And I think we've all approached some of that individually in different ways. Last year with Google Classroom, just to differentiate based on the building needs where teachers were. So, yeah.
Thank you.
okay, so deployment went very well. I think we were all pretty surprised. Our last building, we deployed 650 minutes. That's how well it went. But lessons learned. You guys want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly, right? So I'm going to read to you some lessons learned. We sent out an email and said, let us know what you thought. What do we need to work on? How can we change some things? So some tweaks need to be made to our mobile device management system.
Sherry Fowler has some of the apps didn't get online the way they should. We purchased some, not all of them are there in the self-service like they should be, so people are saying I can't download it, so we're working on that. More troubleshooting for the classroom teacher. Help the classroom teacher to know a little bit more about the troubleshooting. I think working through it now, they will, but they would like to have some more troubleshooting. Take students to the classroom with a building tech right after deployment for personalized assistance. At our first school west, we were in the library and they all sat down and started following the pamphlet. They did very well, but then I don't remember which, was it yours? You were there. Yeah. Jeff came over to watch, and he went back and said, I think if the building tech would go to the classroom and work with them there. And then I think he shared that, and then the rest of the buildings followed suit. So that went well. Apple Support was here on Parent Night. We really didn't see the need for them to be here on Parent Night. We would rather have them here on Deployment Day if something goes wrong. More training for our paras. We're seeing that they need some more training. Glad to see they're coming to those sessions after school. They can also have time with, Joe can come out and give personalized training as well. The first school to deploy needs some extra time and begin later in the day. We were kicking it off at 8 o'clock and found out, oops, we needed to do an update. So then that put us off schedule for about 2 hours, but we caught up quickly. So they just stayed in class for 2 hours and then got them deployed. Schedule the downloading of apps for different grade levels to do it at different times so we don't bog down the wireless. I think you came up with that as well. That was a great idea. Our library and media assistants feel like they need additional time and training for tech issues. They're getting a lot of questions where they are. Additional charging stations may be needed. The passcodes. The kids put in the passcodes and then forgot them, and nobody had them anywhere, so then those had to come back to ESDC and be reset. So by the time it got to your building, she had heard the horror stories, and so they stepped in and fixed that so it didn't happen at all the buildings. Another thing that we need to work through is we had all of our techs, it was all hands on deck, be at the school, help get all of this deployed. Well, it leaves other schools without help on that first week there. And then they weren't back at that school the next day to help the LMA. So we need to work out a better system of making sure we can have building techs back in the library the next day to assist them. Now, since Labor Day, the techs are on a schedule. They are in the middle school every day, maybe not all day, but in the school every day. And so the LMA knows they're coming and they can get that worked out. So other things you've heard, that lesson learned that we could work on.
I just had a quick question. Do paras have their own iPad? I know teachers have them. Do paras have them?
They can check them out. Remember the wage and hour law? We can't allow them to take them home, or we would have to pay wages for that. So they can check them out. I think each school does it differently, but I think they check them out and check them back in at the end of the day.
Okay, so they have access to them.
They sure do.
Okay, great.
So,
With the survey that you surveyed teachers about how comfortable they are with the iPads, I empathize with them, because you think you're comfortable with it until you get, your child to tell you how, to make you feel how able you are to
they're good at
master
that.
of it, But I can't imagine being in a whole classroom of kids that know everything about it. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the successes and.
I can't say enough good things about the IT department. They did a great job coming over and supporting us. It was great on deployment day. Maybe you had to wait a few days after that for the help desk to answer, but we utilized their abilities to the fullest. For one, they put the cases on the iPads months ago. That really saved hours of work. And then it was pretty much 45 minutes of our staff and their staff putting the documents into the green bags, the baggies that we handed the iPads out with. So they were on site and could troubleshoot anything that came up. It would have taken really a week on our own to catch up. So we got off in good shape. So thanks to the IT department. Our tech department, our teachers are the ones that are coming up with the ideas and looking ahead. So I'd like to thank them for the work all through the summer. And we just met today at the end of the day to debrief on our training. And one success we had, and this comes from Josh Spradlin, one of our lead teachers, we had a question and answer assembly for each grade level. So before deployment took place, we brought the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders down during their advisory, and we went through the frequently asked questions, but we opened it up to them, and they really asked a lot of good questions, a lot of things that we were anticipating, but we're thinking about having another session because it's becoming a little clearer to them that this is a learning tool, because they keep asking these questions of how can I get to this app or that app, and again with some 8th graders, Mr. Spradlin said that he had a discussion. This is for your learning. That is the reason why we can't do this or that. And I think if we have a follow-up assembly, the kids will start. It will strengthen that culture for what this tool is for. Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Do you want me to add any on that?
Oh, anything else you think?
I also think just the weekly conference calls starting last spring and then all through the summer, it just kept everybody on the same page. And we had a place to put our agendas and our questions, and everybody was so responsive immediately, no matter what department or what school. And so it was a really nice team collaborative effort, and it really set up our kids for success. So that was really great and very proactive.
I want to mention we had a group from Japan, educators through KU. They were special education teachers that came down our first week of school, and so we were talking about a lot of issues. They wanted me to compare Japanese education with American education. I'd been over there a couple times, and that was a big question for me. But I just started to say, well, I think you pay your staff better, and they said no. I tried to tell them we had some bad funding going on, and they asked me, how did you get all the iPads? So I just kind of stopped trying to explain what was going on. It made me feel very fortunate for where we're at.
Yes. All right.
I was just going to share a testing success because I could tell you lessons learned for about a week on my last 5 years in a testing environment with almost 700 kids, 3 to 5 times a year. So in the last 5 years, Southwest, we've developed committees. We've tried to be the most efficient possible when it comes to state assessment, map testing, or any other survey that's required by the state of Kansas or for something where we need technology. And we have tried to move kids to the devices. We've tried to move the devices to the kids. We've blocked scheduled for weeks. We've lost class time, and it's been tough. But this year, we did all of our map testing in 2 days. We didn't have the block schedule. We had all of the makeups done by the end of the week. We had teachers who are at the end of their career saying this was the best testing environment they've ever experienced. We had 0 Wi-Fi problems. So it was a huge success. And we reflected on it in the hallways, and then we reflected on it during collaboration too. So it just was a nice relief and took a lot of stress and a lot of it just saved us time, so we were way more efficient. The biggest success where kids were sharing with me, thank you, Mrs. Ryan, for not making me test in the afternoon, because we all tested in the morning, and we all know students like that better, so it was great. I can share real quickly something that I had a group of teachers. Some went to the iPad Palooza in Austin, Texas. Some did not, but we met all summer, and they were a very passionate group of teachers who wanted to do something for students to kick off the iPads and what was in the iPad. And Jill, you were talking about not knowing as the adult. Well, we were sure never to assume that all students know what's going on in that iPad, and it's so true. they maybe know what they want to know about in the iPad, but how to access it, how to access the accessibility, what are the learning apps that they can use to personalize their learning. We have some work to do. And so we had a group of teachers who we met for weeks before school started, and we created an opportunity for students to learn more about their device. So we had an iPad out of the box where they learned all the functions, how they can have their text read to them. They learned how to access the different apps and just increase their knowledge. They got to go to 4 sessions. They got to go to a problem-solving activity. They did the Ice Work It app, which was movement in the classroom that they can use for brain breaks, and the teachers and the students really liked that as well. And so it was just a very positive day. There was collaboration. They had to problem solve. We'll make some tweaks if we do it again. We were told some kids could present as well, so that was pretty fun that kids were stepping up, wanting to take that leadership role too. But in that role, or in that day, everybody was a learner. So it was, and Jerry came out and presented as well, some district staff, which was really supportive to our school from the teaching and learning department.
So I did paper 53, but I'm going to see if this will work. I had a couple students, I have just a 10-second clip of them talking about the iPad. So, hey, what are you doing?
I can say. Okay.
And what are you doing?
Learning French.
You're learning, is it easy to learn it this way? It's hard? Are you in French class?
No.
No, you're just doing this on your own?
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Well, I am going to take the class in iPad police.
Great. I was impressed with him doing that on his own. And then one more, just very short.
Okay.
So how might you use Paper 53?
Well, Paper 53 is such a great app, and I'm actually in something called Future City, and it's a class that provides engineering curriculum in USD 497, and we actually work on color schemes and architectural designs, so it's really helpful that way. So as you can see, I can like mix colors and I can lay them out in a very nice order, thanks to Paper 53.
I thought maybe she could go to work for Paper 53 after that. She did a nice job on the spot. So our current reality. Oh, we learn more things every day. So what we're having problems with right now with our Wi-Fi is that we are having interference with Doppler radar and military radar when it flies over the schools. So as I understand it, we have the Wi-Fi on certain channels, but when Doppler or military fly over, they get access, so it kicks those channels off. And we had to tweak all of those, so they go back to the default setting, so then we have to go back and tweak them again. So we have escalated this up to the maker of the access points, Meraki. They are working with our staff. I stopped by as I was leaving to come down here today, and I said, what are we hearing? And they said, we think what we're doing is making a big difference. We weren't hearing about that today. So did not know. And as I understand it, it is a global issue. It's not a Lawrence issue. So it's something that we're working on all over the world. The Media Center is the hub. The Media Center specialists are feeling like they're having to do a lot of troubleshooting. We're hoping that that will calm down as the rollout goes on and the building techs are there daily. The building tech schedule, I think, is going to make a big difference, having them there every day. We may need to get more charging stations, and now you get the rollout and you think that there's time to relax, but there's not, because now we're going to begin to assess what's going on with the iPads. So remember I showed you this, that we had a large aircraft to get off the ground and a really short runway. Well, we're in the air now. We're flying. But there is no point of arrival. We don't get to relax and sit back. Now we're building the plane as we fly it. We're finding out about radar coming over the schools. We're finding all kinds of things. But I really want to thank the 64 teachers and the educators that worked on this, I have never been on a team that felt so close and worked so well together. And so it has been a great team effort, and I appreciate you giving us this opportunity, and we will keep building the plane as we fly it. Questions? I know you might have further questions for the principals.
Yeah, real quick, well, first, thanks for implementing a process, really comprehensive process for PD and implementation that involves assessment and tweaking it moving forward. I think that's what we all wanted to see, and it's really great. I did have a question on the night shift feature. I noticed on, so my daughter has one, and I noticed on hers that at first it didn't have it, so we ran the update, and then it
And now
then
you
did.
have it?
Yeah, so
Okay,
I don't
so-
know if everybody's aware of that.
Good to know. And we don't know these things unless someone tells us.
And, yeah, I
And
was
we've
gonna
heard
shoot you
of
an email. I'm
some
sorry, I
features
forgot.
were turned off as we sent the mobile device management system out. And so people will call in. We had a special ed teacher call in and say, it won't, you've turned off the part where it will read to the kids. We're like, oh, we didn't know that was turned off. Went in, she just checks a box and boom, it goes out. Tomorrow is going to be quite a day. The new iOS comes out, so we will have everybody in the district updating their iPhone. Please do it at home. And then we update the iPads too. So our internet tomorrow is going to be sketchy. And we already have our tech team coming in very early in the morning so that they can cache some of it and hope that we can get it going a little smoother in the day. But tomorrow's going to be a tricky one for us. So, but please let us know about those things because we can get them tweaked and going.
Thanks. Anybody else have any questions?
Oh,
I was in an IEP on Friday and with a mom who's had a special education student for all throughout elementary, and it's an eighth grade student, and she just commented to the entire team that iPad's been revolutionary in their house. So the team was very, very happy and appreciative, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next item, next report and approval is approval of real estate contract between Douglas County and USD 497 with Tony Barron, Executive Director of Facilities and Operations.
Tony Byrne, Executive Director of Facilities and Operations. You probably remember August 8th, I gave the report about the new possible purchase of a property. Told you I'd be coming back to you today for a final approval of that. So this is pretty simple. I brought the enclosure up. Everything's been through the City Planning Commission, which was approved by the City Commission. The County Commission approved the sale of the property. So now I'm here tonight to ask you if you'd be willing to approve the purchase of it on our end. So as you can see, the report's up there, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. If not, I'll let someone go ahead and go through the motion.
Any questions or discussion?
I'm happy to make the motion. I'm so excited about this. This has been in the works for a long time, and I think it's a really good investment for our district that will save us money in the long run and allow us to do, to better work with our warehouse. I mean, having to move things around and use staff time and resources in a leased facility just isn't the ideal environment. So I'm very excited to move that the Board of Education approve a purchase from the Board of County Commissioners of Douglas County property located at 711 East 23rd Street in exchange for Lawrence USD 497's property located at 146 Main Street, plus $500,000 is outlined in the real estate contract.
Second.
Thank you, Vanessa and Shannon. Any quick, no further discussion? And Green Janice?
Yes.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion for adjournment? No. All right, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.